Pam Gleason cruised through Amesbury High School from 1978 to 1982. She was the only girl in a family of 8 children, so she grew up competing to make herself heard. Pam's impact on the field hockey team was a bit delayed because she did not report for the preseason her freshman year, but instead was invited to play by Coach Gail Kelleher. Because she was so late in picking up a stick, the freshman team was blessed with her presence for the rest of the fall season. Pam was a varsity starter and the main scorer in her sophomore year, but it was her junior year when she really made an impact. She broke Linda Savigny's scoring record, was named the team MVP, a Cape Ann League All-League player, and a Boston Globe All-Scholastic Honorable Mention. In her senior year, once again, Pam set a new scoring record of 23 goals, and this record held up for the next 10 years. She was named MVP of the team, Cape Ann League Player of the Year, and was named to the prestigious Boston Globe All-Scholastic team. Teammate Kathy Mamikos remembered Pam not only for the fun that she brought to the team, but for her remarkable and instinctive abilities to be in the right place at the right time. She made field hockey stick work and goal scoring look easy. Pam's brothers were great ice hockey players, so it was not surprising that Pam chose hockey as her winter sport. What is surprising is that she was the first girl in Massachusetts to play boys ice hockey. Pam learned under the gifted tutelage of Larry Fournier and varsity coach Leo Dupre. Pam continued to play hockey for the next 3 years, and as a senior, she was the first girl at AHS to receive a varsity letter in the sport of ice hockey. Pam was a natural in the game of softball and was a starting varsity catcher in her freshman year. She played on a team of talented athletes who set the bar high. The pitcher who she caught for that first year could throw the ball hard, but she also had control issues. Pam had never been in the catcher position, but Coach White knew her athletic ability and had high expectations for her. Pam admits that the first few times she stuck her mitt out, she closed her eyes and hoped for the best. Within a very short time, however, Pam had figured it out. It didn't matter to her whether the ball came over her head or in the dirt. For the next 4 years, she was a true backstop. Pam went on to be the MVP of her softball team and a 2-time Cape Ann League All-League player. Her senior year, she was chosen as the Daily News All-Around Athlete for 1982. It is very obvious that Pam was and still is very proud to be a fighting Indian. She feels passionately that her experience instilled strong values of commitment, loyalty, devotion to the team, and pride. Pammy states that participating as an AHS athlete has everything to do with who I was in my collegiate career, my coaching career, who I am as a wife, and my most important career as a mother to 4 athletes of my own. Congratulations to inductee Pam Gleason Holt, class of 1982.
With Pam is her husband Brian, children Brittany, Garrett, Madison, and Tanner. Pam Gleason Holt.
I also would like to thank the committee, Sam, and I try to remember everybody, but Coach Kelleher, Mamo, aka the big girl, and I'd like to thank my brother Jim and my sister-in-law Karen and my mom for flying in last night from Florida. They got here at 1 in the morning, and I'd like to remember my dad today, who would really be enjoying all this, even though it's 2 of his girls that made it in and not his boys, but that's all right. Their time will come, I'm sure. And words cannot describe how honored I am to be with all of these talented athletes. Being born into a family with 8 brothers, I had little choice but just to play sports. My dad would always refer to us as me being his rose and him having 8 thorns. Our family gatherings, when we showed up, we were referred to as the Fighting Indians when we all piled out of the station wagons. But being the only girl also, and having play dates and having my friends over, they'd come over and would go into my room and they'd all want to play or whatever, and we'd go in, and all my dolls were missing their heads, and I was like, what the heck happened to your dolls? Well, my brothers used to take the heads off of my dolls, and they'd cut the hair off and cover them in tape and use them for hockey pucks, and they'd shoot them at me and make me play goalie. So it really, like I said, didn't really have much choice. It was just what I did. Growing up in Amesbury, just an awesome town. I kind of miss those days. The kids don't really have the opportunities that we had as kids, where we could just walk down the street and find a dime underneath your heating duct and go to Dave's Variety and buy a big bag of penny candy, and those were the days. But the funny part about Dave's Variety, which I had to bring up, when he closed his store down and they talked about Dave Goodwin, I said, who's Dave Goodwin? I didn't really know who Dave Goodwin was. And I realized after a long, long time that was his last name. I grew up calling him Mr. Variety. I thought that was his last name. So I used to walk out of there and say, thank you, Mr. Variety, and he'd say, bye, Pammy. And he can't believe he let me do that all those years, but anyway. And again, a lot of people talk about like just how a coach defines you. I owe so much to Coach Kelleher, Coach White. I would honestly, I heard not going to college. I would have never went on to school if it wasn't for Gail calling me into her office probably 4 out of the 5 days a week, because my teachers knew if they went to her and told her I wasn't doing my work, she'd get on me and I'd lose playing time and I'd just do my work. So if it wasn't for her and Ellie White, I owe them everything. Middle school, I didn't play junior high sports. I was cut from a team when I played basketball, and then later in the spring, and I started to kind of give up on myself and thought, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And I came into the high school, and ironically, of course, we know Coach Kelleher's a very smart person, but the first sport, being a gym teacher, she would always have floor hockey out. Now I know that she was just looking for good field hockey players, so she could say, you should try field hockey. And that's what she did to me. She recruited me and asked me to play field hockey, and I said, it's kind of a lot of running. I don't know. I'm not really into that. And she said, well, why don't you come to a game? And I went that first day and never played field hockey, and had grown up playing ice hockey and at Windy, Maine as a coach. And I just jumped in, and I think we were losing by a couple of goals with a few minutes left, and they said, well, we'll just see if she can play. My kids have heard this story 1,000 times. They're laughing at me. You guys want to tell it? And there was only a couple minutes left. I scored a few goals. We won 3-2, and I was like, I like this sport. It's awesome. Because I just got the other end, and they hit it up to me, and I could put it in the net. There wasn't as much running as I thought. But anyway, but having great coaches, as my movie mentioned, defined me as a parent, and I've taught my kids to appreciate their coaches and how much time they take away from their own families, especially youth coaches. I make sure they know that when we're sitting home eating dinner, sometimes they don't get that opportunity, and teach them to appreciate. Sometimes I know I didn't realize when I was a kid how much our coaches did for us. So it's come around full circle, and now I can emphasize and teach my own kids. And I won't be much longer, but I have to brag about my own. My 4 children are athletes. We're Winnicott High School. Amesbury's in my blood, but these are my Amesbrookers, we call them, from Seabrook. And my Brooker friends up there. My 3 oldest have all won a state championship at Winnicott, so that's something Brian and I never had. And I'm really proud of all of them, between lacrosse, football, and field hockey. And we have Tanner, who's an 11-year-old. He's coming up. So, right, T? And then my last story. Brian and I kind of go back and forth. We're pretty competitive, so we kind of go back and forth with the varsity letters. And he thinks he's better than I am, and I know I'm better than he is. And we both have 8 varsity letters. And he says, how do you figure you have 8 varsity letters? So, well, I have 4 for softball, I have 3 for field hockey, and I have 1 for ice hockey. And Brian says, did you play varsity hockey? I'm like, no, I was a senior and I got a varsity letter. He's like, that doesn't count. You didn't even play. You played on the JV team. So the kids have heard this forever. So we're cleaning out the attic, and our varsity jackets show up, and there the kids say, I know, you guys think you're so great. How about you guys try your coats on, and we'll see who they fit better, you know? So Brian's Triton coat, which is too bad he's from Triton, but he was a very good athlete himself, and he put his varsity jacket on with all of his varsity 8 pins and his captain on his sleeve, and snapped it all up and looked like the same chisel chest he was in high school, and just fit him perfect. And then I kind of put mine on, and the sleeves came up to here and the buttons went from hip to hip, and I told them I can still fit into the earrings that I wore in high school. So, with all that being said, I have 1 up on him. Thank you, Sam. Thank you to the committee, and thank you, everyone, for nominating me. And congratulations to everyone else.